and stuff like that, I have a very, very, very interesting guest. I almost missed going online. We were having such an interesting conversation before going live. But before I bring him on, I am also trying something new today and from this moment forward. Seeing as the extension has happened, I want to give back to the entertainment industry. So, any guest that is on my show, during that show, I'm asking you guys to donate whatever you want. 5 Rand, $200. $200 would be nice. But anything you want, and that guest is going to receive 75% of the proceeds after the show is done. This is to help the entertainment industry, to help the performers who obviously right now can't do much. So please spread the news, let people know about that. Subscribe to my channel. I'll leave a comment just now and you guys can subscribe. And I'll leave a link where you can donate in just a moment. So, as you guys know, this is a show where I bring on performers, artists, comedians, and we just have a nice chat. Today's chat's going to be very interesting. I saw a comment that this man put out on his Facebook post, and I was like, you know what, we got to talk about this, especially in today's climate. So before I go any further, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring on your guest, or our guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, with a thunderous round of applause, Werner Weber.
Thank you, Joe.
No worries,
don't know how many people is listening, but how many is there? Howdy.
So,
and if you hear my little boy crying in the background, he's a little tired.
No worries, man. All right, so before we get into the hot topic we have today, I would like to just explain to the audience and people watching who you are and what you do right now. And for those of you that are also watching, the reason why I know Werner is I know him as a comedian because we used to work together. But what are you up to now? What do you do now? And
Yeah. Okay. So very quickly, I used to do some comedy back in the day with some of the guys, and that's why I met Joe. And I think about the time that you started coming into the scene, I was just about sort of getting out of the city. I sort of decided to quit corporate life and go live on a farm, start my own business. And that's what I've basically been doing for the last, say, 6-7 years, just doing permaculture-based farming. We can go into that a little bit later if there's time. And then just, I'm a software engineer by trade. I'm 22 years worth of enterprise corporate software development of all sorts, finance, with petrochemical, telecoms, all kinds of verticals and areas of corporate world that I did some development.
All right.
So got tired of that, got out, and so now I just do pretty much the same thing, but just for myself. Freelance. I've got my own product that I've developed. It's it's boring stuff. I'm not going to bore you guys with that, but it's sort of ERP type stuff. But that's what I'm doing, And then of course I rant on the internet. I post Facebook rants, and I put on my tinfoil beret, put on my and just kind of watch the political space and what's going to happen, what's happening in the world.
All right, cool. So let's get right into it because I think that's going to take up a lot of our time. You put out a post on Facebook yesterday, which I found very interesting. Before we get right into it, just tell us what you said in that post, so people that are watching have context.
I mean, I'm not going to go into too much details about what's in the post per se, but it was basically just around making up your own mind, as far as what's being told to you, the information that's being given, and I think this is a very common problem, in these days. People just accept what's being told to them, without going deeper into what's actually happening, and it also seems like we've all of a sudden just hit a collective amnesia as a nation. I mean, I'm not really going to comment for the rest of the world, but how we've berated the government, from all parties, whether it's EFF, ANC, DA, they all get their fair amount of grilling, because some of them have good ideas, some of them are bad ideas. But for the most part, I think people have gotten just all of a sudden just looked at it and go, everything's fine, we totally agree, we're totally on board, and I kind of get it. People are scared. right? People are scared. We're in uncharted waters. We haven't done anything like this ever as a world, right? But that doesn't mean we need to throw out logic
Mm.
out the door.
Yeah.
And we see the likes of Steenhuisen getting quite a lot of heat because the DA is, proposing something different, which is whether they're right or wrong. I'm not going to get into that debate, because, it's because we've been clearly said, if you spread fake news around, it's because there's only one ministry of truth, and anything, if you go beyond that, then you're liable for a little bit of a rap over the knuckles or a fine or some imprisonment, which is already kind of troubling. And I kind of get the reasons why. These are serious topics. We don't want people to go and be irresponsible,
Mm.
of course, right?
Yeah.
But it just feels that nobody really applies any critical thinking. Nobody really applies any form of rational thought these days in terms of going to go find out for themselves. And I think that was what my rant was about. Is that you engage in debate these days, and I call it debate loosely because it usually breaks down into sort of ad hominem attacks and people calling people stupid and crappy names, and you're an asshat, or you're a Trump card, or you're a bleeding heart liberal. These
Yeah.
I think people have absolutely lost the ability to debate rationally, calmly, and try to, because you're not going to win any friends by like calling people names and saying like, hey, I think you're an asset, or
Yeah.
or you lick Trump's arsehole, or whatever the case. And that happens a lot because, and this is where I think people need to change their world view a little bit.
Mm.
Go and do your own homework. And you always get raked when you say, "Oh, I did my research." A YouTube video doesn't constitute research. I agree. I'm on board with that. Watching one YouTube video or getting a meme from your China doesn't mean you have done your research, right?
Yeah.
Doing your research means you get multiple news outlets. You watch Al Jazeera, you watch CBS, CNN, MSNBC, all the mainstream ones, even the ones that you don't agree with, the Fox, the right, the centrist, the OAN. There's so many news sources, right?
Mm.
And I think people tend to collect their news sources what sits the best with their own worldview.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because exploring your own internal misgivings is uncomfortable, because, we're all raised in a certain way. You believe the world a certain way, and you'd like to keep that worldview intact.
Yeah.
So going beyond that, most people don't do that, and this is where I think we kind of lose that balance in being able to debate calmly using well looked up information. So go to medical papers, look at the abstract, look at the details of it. If you don't understand certain things, you have to research it. You have to find out what do certain things mean. So researching is a process. It's not just go watch something and just regurgitate what someone said. So even the things that I'm saying, or that I may say, or that I may post, and I always try and verify it, provide, actual, like maybe a government document or a legal document from a court case, or a credible news source that can trace back to an original journalist. And so you have to follow that trail. And I often, I get excited because there may be something that fits my worldview, and I get, this looks like exciting news, and I go into it and I kind of follow it and say, okay, this is actually BS.
Mm.
Yeah, sure, you feel a little bit, you don't feel like it because you got excited about it, but then you have to acknowledge the fact that, it was just clickbait, it was rubbish, and it happens.
Yeah.
People publish rubbish.
Yeah. It does. It does.
So
So
yeah.
yeah, that post was very interesting. I agreed with the post. I'm not embarrassed to admit it. And basically saying, part of the message was that we are suddenly praising our president, but we are forgetting how this country was before the pandemic, and now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
lockdown, and we're like, woohoo, lead us. And
Oh, our Lord and Savior, yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So we have to be, and for those of you that are watching, this is not an attack. This is not hate. This is not anything like that. We are just being, I would say, realistic about our situation. It's not that I don't know about you, I haven't asked you yet, but I'm not saying that we agree or we disagree with the lockdown or anything like that. Like Werner said, having both sides of the argument is important. Knowing exactly what is going on, having that bigger picture is important, because yes, while the lockdown may be good to what they want to do, they want to flatten the curve. There's still bad things that can happen, whether it be violence, crime, um, economical
Suicides.
factors, suicides. There's still
So it's a
things,
real discussion.
yeah, there's real problems, and those things mustn't be forgotten. And just because he made maybe okay two good choices during this period of time in our global situation, does that mean he's forgiven for all the other things? Does that mean ANC all of a sudden is forgiven for all their past discretions?
Let's not forget our status was
Exactly.
junked,
Yeah.
right? That's a big, for people that don't understand what that means from an economic perspective, they should maybe go look what that means for our bonds, how that, what that really means for your economic slope. You
Yes.
know, this sounds kind of like horrible to say, but this thing may have actually kind of bailed our butts out in a bit, right? Because post this,
Mm.
the stimuluses that you'll see. I mean, I went today to go do some shopping. Petrol price is what is the lowest that I've seen in a long time.
How much was
Oil
it?
prices have it's like was like 13 rand something per
What?
liter. For It's insane, right? I was watching last night. OPEC nations have agreed to stop producing oil because there's just so much. The US has rebuilt their reserves,
Mm.
and they're actually storing oil in ships offshore. Now, I'd like to know: are we doing that? Is our strategic reserves refilled? I mean, I know this is a little bit off topic, but
Mm.
um, so I mean, I do think there is definitely a positive at the end of this,
Mm.
and then if we look at the actual numbers of people that's been infected and the deaths that we've had in South Africa, we can consider ourselves fortunate,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
No death is ever fortunate, but I mean, if we look at our crime statistics and the kind of violence and death that we're used to, I actually made a post when the lockdown was first announced. I said, actually, this maybe give us a slight reprieve from the amount of murders and deaths and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
Teeny tiny reprieve for sure, but how long is that peace going to last?
Well.
We're already seeing looting happening,
Yeah.
and money lasts only so long.
Mm. Well, that's the thing. Like I've seen people, experts, saying that during the lockdown, the murder rate is the lowest it's ever been in years.
Yeah, of course.
The rape, all that stuff, lowest it's ever been in years.
Yeah,
Which is a good thing, obviously, but
for sure, because you've incarcerated your entire country.
exactly. But that's the thing. At what cost?
You've basically said to, yeah, and it's look, I'm used to it, right? I live out in the middle of nowhere. I kind of leave my farm once every 2 weeks anyway. As it's been, so it's not a major adjustment for me.
Mm.
I adjusted my lifestyle to this kind of life 7 years ago already.
Mm.
So, but not everyone's as fortunate as I am.
Yeah.
It's there's people sitting in tiny spaces, confined, so close to each other that
Yeah.
and that's the thing that's kind of from just a purely statistical kind of perspective, that's kind of bugging me.
But I have it. I'm
We're
going to
just
stop you. I'm going to stop you right there. Sorry, I know I'm
yeah
interrupting you, but I'm going to stop you right there because I hear that argument a lot. I hear that argument of, yeah, it's easy for you guys to say because you're in the house or you're here or you live in a big place or whatever. It's
mm,
easy to say that, but you know what? That's the thing. It goes back to the whole Cyril thing. It's the government's fault that those people are in there because of the looting,
mm,
because of keeping
mm,
them that way. And I know I'm going to get a
mm.
lot of attack for that, for just
Yeah,
mentioning
heat
that.
for that, yeah.
But who who else do you look at? I'm not responsible for those people. I wish I had billions and billions of
Yeah,
rands or
yeah.
dollars
Look,
to help them out.
it's a difficult thing. I mean, how do you solve that? It's
I've always said
we've
education.
got.
You got to fix the education
We've
system.
got education. But if we look at how the education department and that kind of stuff has been run, is it any surprise we've got a 30% pass level? In my days when I was still working in corporate, and you try to recruit youngsters coming in, it was nearly impossible because they were barely computer literate. you know. And that is a dire thing for the state of our nation, because we are arguably, and I'm a big proponent of digital learning space. My whole world and my life and my work all revolves around software in the cloud and in digital learning. I'm a complete self-taught engineer. Everything I do, I teach myself. That's just how I am. I believe in that because it's just worked for me.
Yeah.
So how we solve the South African context thing is it's a challenging thing, but we have to consider our fellow people. Do we just turn our back at them and go, sorry, you voted for them, it's your problem? And
No, obviously I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that when people point the finger at me, like trying to say that why don't you do something about it? I'm like, okay, I understand you're angry and you care about these people. I also care about these people, but we should be angry with the government. You shouldn't be angry with me. Your anger is like misguided.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say.
South Africa, if you go look at the corrupt indexes, right, we're among the highest. I don't exactly remember where we are, but we rate amongst the most corrupt, not just government, but also police forces in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying all the police are corrupt. I have some friends that are in police force that are great people, fantastic human beings. They're there because they care about the community. They're there because they want to make a difference, right? But in positions of power generally draw the worst kind of people. And it's, and call a spade a spade. Narcissists are generally the kind of people that are drawn to positions of power, because they like the idea of having power. They like the idea of just, it becomes intoxicating. It's like a drug. So I'm not saying everyone in government's a narcissist, although I'm pretty sure there are some. But we'll just leave it at that. We can rant and rave about the government and all that kind of stuff, but that's not the point. I think the point of this is that people need to kind of not just accept what's being told.
Yes, absolutely.
Go verify it for yourself. Do the checks and balances.
Yes.
Out of the, go look at the numbers. And of everything and anything. Look at the people that do the studies. Look at who funds them. Look at who funds the organizations. Those are very important things, because you cannot tell me that somebody who funds organizations to the tunes of millions and millions and millions is not going to exercise a level of influence over it.
Of course. Look at, there's two examples I can think of. One, I'll bring it home, which is the EFF. They put a post out, I think a few months ago, just before the whole COVID pandemic, where there's a picture, I don't know if it's still on the internet, but there's a picture of them having a board meeting in their EFF headquarters. And the post says something like, oh, we're working hard for our people, or whatever it is they said. But and this is the thing, EFF are very anti-white. We know that. They just don't like white people. Their chants and art, like all those things that they do. And yet they have this guy.
And they'll argue it's semantics. They'll argue it's semantics.
Exactly, but there's this guy sitting in the boardroom. You can't see his face because his back is towards the camera. But it's a white guy. He's bald. He's a white guy. Who's that white guy? He's wearing a suit.
There's a couple of them. There's a couple of. I've seen, and South Africa is a democracy. People can vote who they want for. I don't care. You can be pink color. Whatever you are, you can vote whoever you want. You can. But people need to at least look into the people that they are calling the leaders. They need to look into their ethics. They need to look into their morals. They need to look at how they behave, both in front of the cameras and behind the cameras. Yes. They need to look at who they're shaking hands with, who they're going to dinners with, who they're getting funding from. These are the type of questions that because you cannot tell me there isn't a politician, that isn't bought for the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Because they earn a salary. And like most people that earn a salary, they adjust their lifestyle to their salary.
Exactly.
And thus, money comes in, money buys influence, so it's, I think people need to take this time and to just really develop a methodology, I suppose, of doing their own research, and not just watching one or two YouTube videos, because that isn't, and just verifying on something on Snopes is also not good, because Snopes is also not infallible. If you look at the owners and the people that run Snopes, they've got a very shady past, bordering on criminal behavior. Then you look at who funds them. And it's for many of these fact-checking sites. I'm not saying that some of the facts that they verify isn't true, because a lot of the stuff that they verify is true, but there's some of the stuff that has a bias to them. As with every publication, for the most part, because people have a bias, right? It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to look through the bias and objectively collect information and data and get to a true objective viewpoint.
Yes. No, absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you.
Because and that's where we lost. Objectivity has gone completely out of it.
Yeah. I mean, like we were going to get into this as well. I mean, you look at the mainstream media nowadays. I watched a few. I'll mention the channel, Ronaldo House. He does a show similar to what I'm doing now, where he interviews guys in different parties, different views of politics. Like these are experts. They're not just willy-nilly people. The one guy that was from the mainstream media said that media is not what it used to be back in the day. They're not asking the typical questions. They're not. There's this agenda of just a one-sided agenda, and it's all about clicks. That's where it is. And this is a guy from media.
I work for one of the big media corporations in this country. Maybe not directly in the media departments, but indirectly. I was involved with a lot of these, and I got to see how a lot of these guys work and operate, right? And some of these, so the way that sometimes trends and information gets reinforced, people will go write blogs and have anonymous blogs and that kind of stuff, and then use the information from those blogs to back up their statements for something that they want to write. So they're using themselves as this has happened for justifying getting budgets to do certain projects. It's not very ethical.
No, it's not.
I mean, I'm not going to say who, it's good, it's in the past, but these things happen. And maybe it wasn't such a big deal, right, in terms of for what they did it. But if that happens, I guarantee it happens for other stuff.
Oh, absolutely. But that's what I was getting at. Like the way the mainstream media, this guy made a very good point. He said you see it on CNN, you see it on Sky, you see it on all the news outlets, and he said that people at the end of the day, especially like in a time like this, they don't want fluff, and they want facts. I
want the raw truth.
I want the real truth.
I want the raw data.
And he said
want the real.
Yeah, and he said that people are making that decision of, okay, where can I get my actual facts? More and more people are going towards that, and the newsstream media or the mainstream media is suffering a little bit. And it may not look like it, but I mean, you look at some of these, even these articles that have happened in recent weeks, where News 24 had to give out that apology. They never give an apology, because they're just and even there was a discussion that they were reporting on Twitter news.
look, with that being said, I do have a bit of empathy for the news industry. It's a tiny bit of empathy, teeny tiny bit of empathy. Because they used to sell paper. They used to sell actual paper. That's what people paid for, right?
Yeah.
We live in an age where information is so accessible.
Yes.
These media companies really need to squeeze everything they can to just try and make a buck.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so anything and everything goes.
Yeah.
And what news sites have become is advertising space. Because that's how newspapers and these magazines, they didn't really make their money from what they sold the magazine for. They made it from the advertising space. Right? So now all of a sudden you've got millions of magazines on online, because anyone can be a journalist now. If you've got a phone and you've got the internet, you can go into your street corner and go record what's happening there, and it's real time. It's it's there, it's video footage, it's audio. Um, it's kind of hard to compete with that.
No, absolutely, I can
Yeah.
understand it.
So does it mean they need to do it? No. I think I think traditional media is dying as we see it. I think peer-to-peer type, the peer-to-peer economy is going to explode. It's just, I mean, what's happened now with the coronavirus, more and more people will now realize that working from home is very easy.
Yeah.
Being connected, doing remote meetings. Like, I've been doing it for the last 7 years. All my work is remote. I only travel because sometimes clients just like to see you in person.
Yeah.
But for the most part, knowledge workers can work remote. And I think if we really want to see a revival in this country, we should have a lot of our knowledge workers move out of the cities and sort of more to the smaller towns. Property will be cheaper. You'll have a much better quality of life because you'll have more space. You'll be able to travel more because your cost of living will be much lower, but you'll still be earning city type salaries.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, I do think even though we're going through a tough time now, and even though I don't necessarily agree with the draconian lockdown measures, it's and I'm not saying we shouldn't take precautions again, before people jump down my throat, but I think the way things were done it was just hastily, didn't really give much thought about a lot of people are going to lose everything that they've worked for,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And then you contacted the banks and you look at what the small business assistance and that kind of stuff for, and it is, again, it's only for a select portion of the society. Now, and that's sad because it affects everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm sitting sweet. Like my work is digital. I can work anywhere in the world. I can pack up tomorrow and go to Bali if I want, but I don't want to. I love my country. I want to see my country succeed. I want to see my people succeed. And I call them like my people, but they're not my, it's my
Your
fellow
fellow,
South Africans.
yes.
My fellow South Africans. So, and I do think we will see a big upswing, but we're also going to see a lot of damage. There's going to be a lot of collateral damage due to these draconian measures that were taken. If people can go and collect SASSA grants, if people can go to the bank, if you can go to the grocery store, right? There is no reason why most retail operations can't work in the same fashion. Limit the number of people, make sure things have heat detection cameras and that kind of stuff. So if somebody looks like your temperature's a little bit too high, do you mind just quickly just check if you're okay? So because look, I mean, I live on a farm, right? I need farm equipment. I can't buy a wheelbarrow. I can't buy a spade. I can't buy seed. And I'm not a big farmer in the sense of, I'm part of the national food supply. So I'm not a critical food supply, but my food is critical to me.
Yeah.
So I grow my own, and we take quite a lot of care to grow the type of stuff that we grow. It's, we grow heirloom food and heirloom type sweet potatoes and all kinds of stuff, because that's what we enjoy to eat, and it's what gives us the quality of life that we have. I mean, I haven't been sick in 8-9 years.
Wow. That's impressive.
Not even much as a cold. Lifestyle changes everything. I mean, we know this. Yeah. We know this. You are what you eat. Hippocrates said, "Let thy food be thy medicine." And it is true. It's very true. And it's. But now for me, I can't go buy tools. I can't go buy fencing equipment. It's because it's considered non-essential for someone like me. And fortunately, like my guys live on the land, here. So we can still kind of carry on with the stuff that we have. We're doing dam repairs and preparing for the rainy season and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of other people that sit in a similar boat, that can't do anything. They were relying on growing some of their own food, but they can't. They can't go buy seeds, because it's closed. There's people are going to suffer from withdrawal symptoms, and anyone that works in drug addiction and that kind of stuff will tell you that's something, chronic alcoholics can die
Yes.
from sudden withdrawal.
Yes. I
mean,
sorry, I'm gonna have to interrupt you. Sorry. I've got a comment here from someone on YouTube asking a question. Some
yeah,
people are saying that the lockdown regulations are too extreme and that the measure I think he means of killing our economy. I think he's kind of mistyped here. What are your thoughts on less strict lockdown measures? That's the question. What are you basically? I think what
okay,
he's trying to say is the loss of people will be extreme, or the economy. You're killing the economy. So, what are your thoughts on a less strict
yeah,
lockdown?
yeah, yeah. Look, I mean, look, we know that our economy is losing somewhere to the tunes of about 16 billion a day, for every day that we shut down.
Wow.
So so you do the math, like 10 days, 160 billion, 20 days, it's 320 billion, so we're running into the billions of deficits here, and where is that going to come from? Sure, the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers, and I mean, even if all of them then go and give all of their billions, it's still not going to be enough. So even if we go full socialist and we just take all the billionaires' money and all the millionaires' money, we're still not going to have enough to pay the deficit of what we've run up just during this lockdown period. So it's gone. It's wiped out. You must accept that. Right? But now for every day that it continues, are we being insensitive and say, the economy must just reopen, and that happen, that people get infected? No, but I do think we need to let people get back to work and be a bit more, not so draconian is what you say. This is essential service, and that is essential service. I mean, companies couldn't sell clothes, like retailers can't. I mean, people with young infants. I mean, I've got an 8-month-old kid. He grows at a phenomenal pace. We have to get clothes for him. But they've only now kind of said, okay, you can buy baby clothes from these places and these places. So they didn't really give it much thought. So yes, I do think it is too heavy-handed. There are loads of people that agree with that same sentiment, and it's doctors, microbiologists. There are people that, scientific people that say we can deal with this in a much better way. Does it mean the government, just maybe they were just trying their best, because they thought, okay, let's just put it on before it even starts. But again, I'm a little bit dubious about this whole thing, because according to numerous sources, the first cases in Wuhan came out in June, July. Now Wuhan is a major tech hub, and there are flights out of that place on a daily basis all over the globe.
Yeah.
So I have a suspicion that this thing has been around for much longer than it's been claimed to be. So we'll probably find that the infection rates is much higher than what has been claimed. But you probably find that a lot of people have already, just had little sniffles or a cold or whatever and got over it, because they build a natural immunity to it. And that is what a lot of doctors and physicians and scientists are saying. A lot of people won't even know that they've had it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Only way that you're going to know. The only way that you're going to know is if you go do a test and you test positive for the antibodies.
Yeah.
So there are cheap promising protocols available that has been given. Even Dr. Fauci and Briggs from Nurses that have reiterated that the hydroxychloroquine with zinc and azithromycin or a other generic type of what is the word I'm looking for? Antibiotic. That combination has shown fantastic results. I know of someone via a friend that's in SA that was infected, that was on that protocol, and it's fine. Gentlemen is like, oh, but so we know there are means to deal with this thing. Talks of a vaccine, anything that's going to be clinically tested in trials, anything, it's going to be 12, 18 months away. can we afford to keep everyone in their homes for 12 to 18 months? Of course not.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
is there people that are already immune? Of course, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
It's undeniable. It's undeniable, right? So, we just look. There are, on the statistics on the world dominant base, we've got 410 people recovered for South Africa. That means there's at least 110 people that we know of that's tested that has an immunity to this, and they didn't need a vaccine. So, we're going to, at some point in time, need to build an immunity to this at some point in time. Anyone in sort of an immunologist will be able to say that the only way to get through this is for people to have immunity to
They're
this.
already saying
How do you get it?
They're already
How
saying
do you get it?
Yeah.
Either natural or via vaccine.
Yeah.
How do you build up natural immunity? By slowly exposing your population to the virus.
Exactly.
I do think and this is just an opinion, I do think most of us probably already carry it, because we live in a world that is, you are a few hours away from just being on the other side of the globe. China is a massive trade partner of ours. We've got massive Chinese movement between us and South Africa. So we've got infections. People have said we will see, because we've got massive HIV, TB and that kind of stuff, we're going to see massive deaths to that. We're not seeing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we? No, and maybe there's another, because they say there's a 21-day incubation period, which means 3 weeks. So if we assume that our first case was kind of measured, around about here on what was about let me just look at this data here, what they say. The first recorded case, the 5th of March, right? So that's a first recorded case, and we're now well over a month.
Yeah.
Okay. So we should have seen this enormous spike.
Yeah, we should have.
Okay, so now they've extended it for another. So, if we don't see all of a sudden this huge spike in numbers of people infected, and yes, we're not doing the test, but if you look at the tests, the number of tests and the results coming back, we're not seeing that infection rates and the death rates that everyone's predicting. Even in the US, they started off with models predicting, it's going to be 2 million deaths. And then it was reduced down to 1 million deaths. And then it was reduced down to 200,000, and then to 100,000. And last night they said it was going to be probably something way below the 60,000 mark. And my suspicion is they're probably going to reduce that number again. So if you look at annual deaths of influenza in the US, it's roughly around 61,000.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying things are right or wrong. I'm saying look at the numbers, look at the predictions, look at how they've been adjusted, look at the actual cases, look at the test, and then kind of work it out for yourself.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult. Is what's being reported and what's you being said, like we're all gonna die in like our lungs filled with mucus and drowning in our own snot.
Yeah.
That will obviously keep people in their homes.
Yes.
Obviously. So
all right, so I have more comments here. You remember Peter Sawanga?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
Pete.
he's watching on YouTube first.
Hey, Pete.
So he has 2 questions. Do you think we can trust this current government to manage the billions of rands in grants floating around? Personally, no.
Sorry, I think that should answer your question.
Yeah. And then he says Werner looks sexy. Well, he's looking great. Yeah, that's true. And then he's
42 strong, buddy.
Yeah. And then his next question is, what advice can you give to the average Jane, for what to do in the next coming tough months? That's a difficult question.
That is a hard question. It's like you're almost saying, like, hey, Werner, solve our problem.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. But first of all, I would probably start off by making a hell of a lot of noise, screaming at the powers that be, and say, we need some damn clarity.
Yes.
Right? And when I say clarity, we want anonymized data
Mm.
of the infections.
Mm.
We want anonymized data of the deaths.
Mm.
So we don't want to know who they are, what it is, but we want to know the details, right? Because how are you able to make any form of rational, logical decision if you can't even get to the bottom of how the numbers are being collated, right? And now, if you look, there are several reports that, and not just in SA but in the US, that a death, if the death is however the death comes about, if you test positive for the antibodies or whatever, even if you weren't symptomatic, they
Mm.
chalk it up to a COVID death.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you have died from COVID? Maybe, maybe not. So it's a little disingenuous,
Yeah.
right? Or a lot. I don't know. We can't say for certain because we go to the worldometers.info, they are arguably the most accurate in terms of these numbers. But when you go to the sources they get it from tweets from government officials and that kind of stuff. So, and I sent a tweet off to Dr. McKee's, and just kind of asking his opinion on the HQ and the zinc treatment part, but obviously not getting any feedback. But I think the best thing we can do is just get on their case
Yeah.
and do not let this go, because this thing is going to go away, and it's going to go away pretty soon, I think. If you really look at the flattening of the curve in South Africa, and if we don't see a spike in the next coming week, then I cannot see how I can justify extending this more.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you let some of the people back to work, open up, maybe say, right, guys, you work at a third capacity. You
Mm.
alternate your staff.
Yeah.
You do it reduced hours. You make sure everyone is sanitized, because then at least we can monitor people coming in and out.
Mm.
If people moving in and out of businesses,
Mm.
we can have eyes. We can see what's happening.
Yeah,
Right?
I think that's what's going to happen. I think after okay, I have two options moving forward. Is one, sometime between now and the end of the extended 2 weeks, Ramaphosa might come on and say we're going to need another 2 weeks. That is a possibility. I don't. It's not a very high possibility, but it is a possibility.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he said that. And then the other possibility is they've planned out. Okay, cool, we can kind of go off lockdown. It's like lockdown light. So
Mm-hmm.
certain people can go to certain places. They're doing that whole GPS location now. So they'll definitely have a more control on finding out who's infected and stuff. So they might ease the lockdown rules a little bit, and over time try and ease them more and more. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, the economy is locking down the economy in South Africa is a huge, huge, huge problem, or not problem, more like a challenge. And
Mm-hmm.
we're going to need to get out of that as soon as possible, because, like we've been saying, the damage of this lockdown because of the economy is going to
Yeah.
be huge.
Look, consider it like this, right? Most wars, whenever the world has been at war,
Mm.
during that wartime period, things is bad.
Yeah.
Things are they're quite bad. But generally, post those war efforts, there's a massive upswing,
Mm.
because people are rebuilding. There's economic injection from government. There's all kinds of tenders going on. So employment numbers surge, which I think is something we should see again. So.
Mm.
Is this going to be all doom and gloom? I don't
Yeah.
think so. But if it is pushed out for much longer, I think we are going to see a lot more, a lot of growth in bad behavior.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Looting. It's just
Yeah.
and I understand it, because
Mm.
hungry people don't care.
Yeah. Well, exactly. If I was in the same position, I probably would do it too.
Well, of course,
Yeah,
of
like
course. I mean, if I was
my
hungry
family
enough, I'd
needs to
eat
eat.
your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd drill it first.
Yeah, so I think, just to answer Peter's question as well from my side, what advice I can give is do what you can, adapt. If you're a business that can work at home and do as best as you can. My wife is a marketing agency slash consultant agency, so she has international clients that she's working for. All the local ones obviously cut. They can't do anything. But yeah, as a comedian, I'm doing this. I'm doing these shows. By the way, don't forget to donate. And yeah, I'm just adapt as best as you can. If you can't, write it out. Stay inside. Don't be part of the problem. Rather be doing your efforts to make things better as best as you can. There are people I know that have done like that work in promotional stuff. They've made masks for people. So yeah, just adapt and stay inside. And like Venner said, this will eventually go away.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, also, there's not much we can do
Yeah.
being in this now, right? Obviously, if you go outside and go break law, you know, you'll see you'll get punched in the face by the army or the police, or you'll get shot. You know, it's like it's just insane, right?
Yeah.
So we're here now. Everyone's accepted it, you know, and I do hope after this, you know, people will go and dig into what actually transpired,
Mm.
right?
Absolutely. I hope people do.
Because
Yeah.
because the level of, you know, so whether this was just complete ineptitude,
Mm.
you know, on the government's behalf, you know, it's or it was on purpose or whatever the case is, you know, I think everyone needs to go and go have a long hard look at what's transpired and then decide for themselves.
Yes.
You know, were we being was the government being truthful with us, or were they being disingenuous?
Mm.
My gut says they're not being completely honest. You know, and this is the other side. So either one or two things is doing. Either the veracity of the disease is way worse than we're being told, and it's being hidden, and that's why everyone's being kept off the streets, right? Because there's rumors in China apparently something like 21 million cell phones were taken off networks and all kind of stuff, and that they hugely but underreported their numbers, and that people were locked in buildings, like buildings were welded shut. It was quite extreme. But why would they lie to us? What if it was that bad? Why not say, look, guys, this thing has killed millions in one country alone. You know, there's no need to lie about it. No one's going to go and go, okay, well, you know, if this thing's that deadly, I'm going to take my chance. You know, but if we're seeing the kind of numbers that we're seeing and how it's going, I don't know. You know, it's and like I say, you know, I'm an engineer that looks through things from an interaction of data. And even if you look at how viruses and biology, it's data exchange at its lowest level. It's ions. It's that's being switched between chemicals.
Yes.
You know, that changes behavior.
Yes.
That's a 1 and a 0 being switched off.
Yes.
That, to my mind, is binary at a microscopic level, right? So if you can understand everything right down to that level, then it becomes easier to kind of understand why would a certain treatment protocol work? You know, why would an anti-parasitic drug work on a virus? Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what hydroxychloroquine is. And once you look into the data and the studies that's been done for the last 60 years on this thing, right? Then you understand why. Oh, okay, it's because it prevents the virus from hijacking the heme in the red blood cell, which basically prevents the red blood cell from binding oxygen, because it releases an extra ion and then releases an ion molecule or something, not ion molecule, but an ion derivative or something like that, and then it prevents your red blood cells from carrying oxygen, and that's why what they say, once you go on a ventilator, you have about a 50% chance of making it. And it's not because the ventilator is helping or not helping, because your blood's not able to carry the oxygen. So you need to either get a blood transfer or a blood transfusion with blood that's not compromised, or your body needs to fight it off and start killing off the things. And where the zinc and the hydroxychloroquine comes in is because it prevents that it prevents the RNA replication of the virus, and it prevents it from bootjacking that ion.
Wow. You've really done your research.
So
Yeah,
the thing is, once you go into it, then you can sort of logically put it together. Why
exactly.
would this work?
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It
Why
makes
does
sense.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And maybe, and I've had some guys that have that are biochemists and that kind of stuff.
mm,
I asked them, look at the literature, and some have said, yeah, they've been looking at similar studies, and it makes complete sense. This is why you are seeing so much success with this protocol,
I see.
given that it started early.
Yeah.
Once it's too late, it's too late.
Yeah. Peter also asks, which I think is a good question as well. What are your recommended sources of good and accurate information around this topic? I'm going to go first. Um, in my opinion, I like watching. He doesn't really dwell too much into COVID-19 or the virus, but he more talks about the current situation in South Africa politically. Ronaldo House, I like what he puts out there. He is, I will put a disclaimer, he is part of the DA, and you can do with that information what you will. But on his channel, on his YouTube channel, he doesn't punt the DA in your face or anything like that. He has awesome interviews with people on both sides of the spectrum. He debates them, and it's a very good information, I think, that is genuine. So Ronaldo Haas, go check him out on YouTube. That's one. And Werner, do you have any?
I don't have one particular source, but I do maintain several lists on Twitter. I follow most international politicians. I follow lots of celebs for various reasons, because you kind of see the various narratives. Once you have a lot of people in certain groups, you can see the groups that are repeating the same info. So it's something that I suppose, there's not one answer, right? Because I continually find new people that I listen to. I continually find new sources of information. And the way that I do it is, like, I've got TweetDeck. I do several searches, hashtags and certain lists, and then every now and then I'll scan through them. Scan. If something catches my eye, I'll go look at it. I'll read the article. And sometimes I'll see certain people post certain things numerous times, right?
Mm.
And then that's how I kind of curate my lists. Is by searching off specific hashtags. From that, I identify certain people. There are, also.
And this is sorry. This is your tech deck that you. I'm sorry, not tech deck. Tweet deck.
Yeah.
Tweet deck.
Tech.
Can
Yeah,
anybody access that?
So that's
What is that?
Well, TweetDeck is just, it's online. It's just a different interface for Twitter.
Okay.
But it allows you, and TweetDeck was started off by a separate company. It was eventually bought by Twitter.
Okay.
So it's part of the Twitter stack.
Okay.
It's just a different interface that allows you to set up a whole bunch of columns and criteria and multiple accounts and all that kind of stuff. So you can have a really large set of data coming through that obviously you could just scan. Reddit. There's numerous Facebook groups that I'm on that I go to. I am also a conspiracy theorist. This is not, because a lot of people, Vanna, you put your tinfoil hat on, and I happily wear that cap, because it's no, I do. It's because it started off as a hobby. It's one of those things that I started looking into, like Nessie and Bigfoot, and like everyone did. It was kind of fun and interesting, and pursuing these things. I even went as far as looking into the flat Earth conspiracy. Because it was literally like the bottom of the list. It was like, I'll get there eventually. And I did. And I spent some, and the thing is, and this is the point that I try to make, is that you need to be able to hold two completely opposing ideas in your head at the same time without your head imploding.
Absolutely.
And I use this example. You need to be able to accept that the Earth is both round and flat at the same time. It's like Schrodinger's Earth. You don't, yeah.
It's actually
this is the approach, and this is the approach that I take to any topic, really. I don't assume anything.
Yes.
You don't start with an assumption, because that is really, if you look at the scientific principle, it says you don't discount anything.
Yes.
Even if something is accepted scientific standard, it doesn't mean you cannot challenge that same accepted, because and there's a very old proverb that says, it's I can't remember how it exactly goes. It says, every time you drop a pebble in a pond,
Oh yes, I
or
know that
you
one.
drop a pebble, you're gonna expect that it's gonna fall in the pond. But maybe just one day,
Mm,
it's gonna hang midair
mm,
or it's gonna fall up.
yes.
We don't know, and it's I know it's a bit crazy, when you say these things because we know, how gravity and these kind of things work, because you can be scientific but also be philosophical about
Yes.
things,
But that's the
and that
thing.
is,
Like, sorry, but that's
mm,
I agree with you wholeheartedly with that knowledge, and I think it actually answers Peter's question quite well. There is no one source. You should look at
exactly,
mainstream, and you should look at what people are saying on social media, and you
yeah,
should be looking at the clickbait, and you should be looking at
independence, yeah,
yeah, at the independent ones, everything, because it creates a bigger picture, and you yourself, through common sense, one would be able to decide. Okay,
mm,
cool. I'm seeing this agenda being pushed here. I'm seeing that being pushed here. I'm seeing how
mm,
this is influencing that. I'm seeing how this is coming out of that. Okay,
yeah,
I can see a bigger picture here, and I'm more informed. I 100% will sit down with a lefty, and like, if I'm talking like far left,
mm,
like EFF, I would actually love to sit down with an EFF member and pick his
yeah,
brain and understand why is it that you think the way you do. What, like,
yeah, yeah,
not that he'll conform me. I'm not asking for them to conform me, but I want to understand,
sure,
because I want to be able to make that informed debate. And the only way you
yeah.
can make an informed debate is when you know both sides of the story, not just one.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. No, and I mean, I 100% agree with you there.
yeah,
And this is where I get, it's the original thing that we came back to, the point of this whole discussion.
yes,
People have lost the ability to debate
absolutely.
because it's uncomfortable to be wrong.
Mm,
It's uncomfortable to change your worldview,
yes,
you know. And that's why I say I don't start off with a particular view. For sure, over time your view gets shaped by how you distill information and how you get to a point where you go, okay, this is kind of how I see the world. So either, you know, simple example, if you take Tiger King, you're either on Team Joe or you're on Team Carol. You know, you know,
yeah, perfect example. Perfect.
yeah. So it's, but then again, you can kind of empathize with both of them. If you look at, it's that answer that you need to be able to be is being a well balanced, well rounded individual, being able to take multiple information inputs. Some of them may fit with your worldview and narrative, and some of them may not. And you
Mm,
need to treat them both with the same equal weight,
mm,
because our own subjectivity can often lead us down a path of just an incorrect path.
mm,
And not again, it's not that I believe there's a wrong way or a right way, because in a world of 7 odd, billion, maybe 8 billion odd people, I'm pretty damn sure there are many ways to do things, and we don't all have to do things the same way,
yes.
because that would be hell of a boring. So I enjoy the multiple aspects and multiple views. How I would hate for everyone to see things the same way, because that would literally mean we live in arguably a socialist. You shall wear, Maoist. You all wear grey with grey caps kind of world,
Mm.
which is not the world that I want. I want those kind of guys, but I also want hippies hugging the trees and dancing bare feet with all kinds of that's the kind of balance that I want,
Yeah.
because that's a healthy world.
It is. You're absolutely 100% correct. And I think, I don't know if we touched on this, but you mentioned, and I think this might be an interesting topic on closing. In your post, you mentioned that you were a Bernie guy, that you were
Yeah,
there
yeah,
on
yeah,
that side of the spectrum in 2016.
yeah. Around
If
yeah, around
you,
2015 on there.
yeah,
Yeah,
if you
so
don't
we could
mind,
touch on that. Yeah,
yeah, telling us like what made you change your mind,
change my mind.
what opened,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. So I was definitely on the Bernie train around about 2015 around there. Because the first time I thought, here's somebody that kind of speaks sense. Was first Ron Paul, to be honest. I first looked at Ron Paul, the previous years, and I was like, I like this guy. He's a libertarian. He believes in people should be able to live their lives as free as possible without interference from government, which is what I like. Um, and then got onto to Bernie, and because there was just no way in hell I was going to support Hillary. It's like I'd been watching her, and she was just like, war, 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 nuke Russia, nuke Russia, nuke. That's what she was going for. And I was just like, I'm not ready for a third world war. I'm not quite ready to go out that way. Um, and then I kind of saw how things happened. And when Trump announced that he was running for his presidency, right? My initial thought was, and this is honest to God, I thought he was running as a goof.
Yeah, me
It
too.
was just a troll, just to make Hillary more electable.
Mm.
That was literally my thought pattern. And then I just saw this absolute just barrage of hate towards the guy, and before that, nobody gave a fuck about him.
Mm.
Like, I mean, sure, he was this rich guy from New York, made lots of money, he had his show and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
They knew him as "you're fired." That's
You're fired, you're
yeah.
fired. That's pretty much what fucking everybody knew about him. And so I forced myself to sit through one or two of these full length, like hour and a half interviews,
Mm.
where they ask him a lot of economic, political type questions. And he was quite erudite, it's not this typical sound bites that you saw, this like kind of stuff. Um, and he started making sense, and I thought, okay, let me give the guy the benefit of the doubt, and that was literally my initial thought, and I still thought maybe he's just dicking around to make Hillary more elected.
Mm.
And then just as the hate is unloaded and unloaded, then I kind of started just digging a little bit more and digging a little bit more, and that's when it started coming along. And you don't have to like Trump,
Mm.
you don't have to, but you kind of have to appreciate what he's done for the American.
Exactly. No, absolutely.
There is, and people can call me a Trump tart. They can call me whatever it is. I've got no, I'm not an American. I'm not, it's, I may maybe one day open up a branch of my business or something like that there. And I've traveled there a few times. I love the country. I love the people. You know, um, but I mean, I've got no pony in this thing. I've got no pony in this race.
Mm.
But I just saw it for what it was.
Mm.
And he's a smart guy.
He is.
And I know I'll get a lot of hate for this, but if the guy's not stupid,
No.
And this is the thing is, if I would do exactly the same thing, because, and this is in any form of game theory, in any game that you play, it's always better to undersell yourself so you're underestimated. That's the first upper hand that you get over your opponents, is let them underestimate you.
Mm.
And everyone has underestimated him from the get-go. Even me from the get-go, underestimated him wholly.
I did too.
And then I started looking at the executive orders that he signed. And if you go into those executive orders and you actually read the contents of them, there's some good shit that he's done.
Mm.
And people can try and deny it, but if you go and look at how the economy's changed, things speak for themselves.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when he says, because he does toot his own horn, and rightfully so, he says all the time, we had the best economy that's been in years. And he's right. And it's not just with the whites, the Hispanic, the blacks, everyone, Asian, they were all, best, what's it called? Do you say unemployment rate? Yeah.
It's the lowest unemployment numbers that they've had in something like 50 years.
Exactly.
And no, anyone who wants to come along and say to me, "Oh, that's bad for the country," I'll go, suck a dick. Because people working gives them dignity, gives them a means to put food on their table, gives them a means to look after their family. Nobody wants a fucking handout.
Yes. And also,
okay, maybe a few people do.
but if you're working, if you're making money, what do you do with that money? You travel, you buy things, you put the money back into the economy. It's how it works. If you're able to afford a living, you buy a house, you buy a car, you buy food, you buy clothes, you buy all that stuff. You go out for entertainment. All of a sudden, the economy is booming, and that's how it works. Okay, some people will be like, "Oh, this is." Your EFF people will be like, yeah, but that's white people monopoly, whatever they flip and call it.
It's white monopoly. But here's the thing: is economic value, right? To my mind, stems from the velocity of how fast cash exchange is hands, because that indicates how quickly it changes and things are hands. So, people need to earn and spend, because that builds your economy, that creates more jobs, it gets more people into the system that can earn and spend. Thus, it has a great knock-on effect. So it's I'm definitely I've definitely seen a November landslide for Trump. I know there's a lot of people that think Sleepy Joe's got a chance, but
actually, speaking about that, you say that, and Peter actually asked the question, He says, last question from me. We don't mind the questions, Peter. You can keep them coming. Biden versus Trump, who will win?
Is that even I mean, Biden can barely stitch sentences together these days. I don't know what's going on with him. Is he suffering from dementia? And they say he's at home. They say it is home, but watch the footage. Watch closely. He's in front of a green screen.
Really? I'll go check.
He is.
Okay.
He's in front of a green screen because when the camera zooms and pans, right? Now, if you're sitting still and the camera zooms in on you, right? The background shouldn't change its perspective size to your head, right?
Yes.
If you think about it, how perspective and depth work, right? So and I actually did a measurement on one of the videos, right? And it's subtle. It's so subtle, but there's the background size adjusts as they zoom in and out because they purposefully zoomed out to show him sitting like in his office at home. But when they zoom in, the background size adjusts and it's not the same perspective or depth. So either the background came forward, which is impossible. So he's definitely not where you say he is.
Yeah, I can actually demonstrate that right now for people who are watching. So if they look on my side, you won't be able to see it on what you're watching. But on my side, there's at the moment the screen is split in half. The half is showing me, the other half is showing you. So if people look on my side right now and I zoom in, the background stays the same. My face is enlarging, but the background stays the same. So what Werner is saying is the background will shrink. Is that what you're saying?
Adjusted in size. Yeah, adjusted in size. I can't remember which way it was round now, but in the one, it definitely the background size adjusts. And I measured it to his ear. I think there was a picture on the shelf, and on the one shot, the picture in the shelf is a little bit taller than his ear, and when he zooms in, the picture is much taller than his ear.
Yeah, you see.
And it's on a book wrap behind it, so that clearly indicates that the background is zoomed in.
Yeah, so I can demonstrate that with my ear here. If we look at this section here, guys, and I zoom in, that stays exactly the same no matter how much I zoom in. So go look at that footage. I'm going to go check it out. And you can let us know.
Yeah.
All right, so we
more
got...
conspiracies,
we've got... I just want to quickly go through this. Peter says it's a green screen. He can see it. And then we have Mornay Kleinhans, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who says, was the virus genetically engineered? Okay, so that is debatable.
That is very debatable.
Yeah,
some people say it's just from the wet market. Some say it was engineered.
Yeah,
but nobody can really know. I haven't seen any hard evidence to say so.
Yeah.
So
I feel the same way. I mean,
jury's out.
This is my opinion on it. If it comes out, because like we mentioned earlier, when this is all over, hopefully the people do their research and they find out all the facts and stuff like that. If it comes out after the research that it was 100%, there's evidence, I'm going to be like, well, I'm not surprised. That's how I'm going to react to it, because I think in everyone's mind, we
look. I mean, we know governments patent viruses. We know they genetically modify them because sometimes they want to use viruses as other pathogens to try and treat other things. But where it's done in the sense of to create a biological weapon, I think there should be serious repercussions if it is. If it is, I do think there should be serious repercussions. I mean, there are talks that there were two Chinese citizens and a professor from, I can't remember what university it was, that was working specifically on this specific virus, and they had gone to Wuhan to set up a lab in Wuhan to work on this specific virus. Did they create that specific one and release that one? Nobody can say that with any form of surety, but is there circumstantial evidence to kind of maybe make people think that? For sure, but I think definitely so. There's a lot of people that are saying, having a virus jump from one species to another species, that doesn't happen. Whereas others, and then we saw there's a tiger that got coronavirus. But there's, I don't think it's the same.
Yeah.
There's someone saying that it's a different strain. So it's speculation.
Yeah, and like you
It's
said,
speculation.
it's at this point all you can do is do as much research about it as possible
Yeah,
and come to your
yeah.
own.
Try and find it as much as I'm on the fence on this. Like I said, I've looked at it, and even though there is a lot of circumstantial evidence pointing towards it, I'm not going to say it definitely is until we get some form of actual uh, somebody getting sued via, actually tracing the pathogen back to that specific lab and dispatching us from, it's
Yeah,
that's kind of like what I would consider the silver bullet that says, okay, yeah,
yeah.
you know, maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone accidentally let it out,
I've also looked at
and
that. Yeah,
that's also possible. Not everything is nefarious.
a Resident Evil
But
kind
with
of
that being
situation.
said, yeah. An umbrella corporation. But with that being said, it is quite clear that the CCP did suppress information coming out of China about it,
Yep.
and that in itself is wholly irresponsible.
Oh yeah.
Wholly irresponsible.
Yeah. No,
And
it
if
puts
and if
doubt
the
on
world, if
credibility
the world,
and all that.
yeah. I mean, Japan has already made funds available to pull most of their factories out of China, to bring to either relocate their factories in Japan or into other countries. The US is kind of, Trump has said that they might, they're thinking about it. There is another senator or governor, I can't remember who it was, that's made some noise about possible reparations.
Yes. Yes.
So, either way, I think they screwed up, and they need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
I don't think it's, and this is not being, racist towards Chinese people. It is towards the Communist Chinese political party.
Yeah.
That suppressed information coming out. That's, doctors were desperately trying to get information out. I mean, we saw the video footage and that kind of stuff, and they suppressed it. So, I, for one, would encourage most South Africans to just kind of, when you go buy something, just consider what you're buying with. Speak with your wallet, because I do think some form of reparations is required. Loads of our South Africans are going to go without pay. Loads of our people are going to, and this could have been prevented. I mean, if they knew about the first cases in June, July last year, right? And it was a big problem, probably already around October, November. We could have shut down, but it was probably, they didn't want trade to stop. They didn't want this because it could hurt their economy.
Yeah.
So at the cost of the world's economy, they held that information back.
Yeah.
And that is a douche move.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah. And that's why I'll never go into politics, because I consider it, well, President Xi, you're a douche. It's not very political.
I think people would love you if you did.
Yeah, man, it's like people always say, do it, but
Yeah.
then when the shit hits the fan, and as you see, politics is a nasty game.
Yes,
It's a nasty game. And you need a thick skin. I've got a thick skin, but I also have a very short temper. So the first time, that I'm in Parliament and they go on with this honourable member bullshit for too long, I'm going to start clapping people left, right, and centre, and then, it's game over, and I'm no longer a politician. Yes.
But
I would rather just sit at the sidelines and get people to elect people more suitable than me.
Yeah, absolutely.
More statesman-like.
Yeah.
Maybe in 20, 30 years when I'm older and I'm a bit more relaxed and calmed down and I've got a bit more knowledge about the world and not as opinionated.
Well, I've kept you a bit over time. We do have more questions coming in, which is great. But I'm gonna have to. Maybe we can do this again. I hope you'll join me again. It was very, very, very interesting talking to you, and I would love to have you back on the show, and we can get into other forms of things that are happening here. I definitely trust what you say, and I've followed you on Twitter. By the way, Werner, send me your Twitter, or I'll get it, and I'll put it in the link description below so people can go follow you on Twitter. And do you have any final words for the audience?
Well, just have a lovely Easter weekend for those who are celebrating. Stay safe. Don't go try and challenge the police. Let's just see this through. But at the end of this, I think we really need to hold our politicians to account. And as a little word of advice for those who do work in the IT industry, get yourself out of the city. It's worth it. Even if it's just an hour and a half. I've got space. I walk around. You can buy property at a third of the price that it's going to cost you in the city. Do it. And if you need advice, we busy. My wife and I we busy putting together little videos and talks around how to get out of the city, what kind of properties to look for, how to buy a piece of land, how to finance it, all that kind of stuff. Because it's quite a quagmire, but it can be done.
Okay. Well, when you have
And you
those,
don't have to make a lot of money.
when you have those videos ready, you can send me links. I'll put them in the description of every video we put out here. Thank you again so much for joining me and giving me your time and expertise on these informations that you gather. Again, I will definitely, with your permission, have you back on the show. I think there's other topics that we can talk about. I like that you're a conspiracy buff, and so am I. So we can put the tinfoil hat on and
do it, man. Yeah, of course. Like I said, mine's not a hat, mine's a beret. I'm like a lieutenant colonel in the Pakistani forces.
Cool, man. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Please stay on the line. I'll chat to you a bit after I sign off here. All right, cool.
Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone.
All right, cheers, Werner. Okay, cool. So that was Werner Weber, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Sit Down and Lockdown. Yes, Sit Down and Lockdown. Very interesting guest. I think he's still a comedian. Used to be a comedian, can't remember, but that's how I know him. And guys, I will leave a link in the description so that you can go follow him on Twitter. There's some interesting stuff that he talks about and puts out there. I will also leave the link for donation open for a bit longer until about 4:30. If you are watching this a bit later, that's fine. You can still donate up until 4 o'clock this afternoon on Saturday, the 11th of April. Like I've said before, all proceeds, 75% will go to my guest. The other 25% will go to me. And that's how I am trying to give back to the entertainment industry and help the guys out there that unfortunately, they can't be on stage right now. So please let people know about that. Share this video, like, and subscribe to my channel. I'm interviewing Francois van Eijst tonight, and we're just going to have a nice, fun chat. So until tonight, ladies and gentlemen, 8 p.m., I will see you then. Stay safe, stay inside, wash your hands. Cheers.